Welcome to Chaos Cortec. Hey guys, welcome back. So today we are going to learn how to paint 3D printed parts. So recently I created some 3D printed ornaments as kind of an experiment, and really it was just a way to test out painting because a spherical surface is pretty easy to mess with. So if you've not seen that video, I'll put a link up here so you can go check it out. And so this video will just be a little more detail on painting these. So before we go any further, I'd like to say that I am not an expert on painting, in fact, very far from it. And so these are pretty much just experiments. My wife and I went out and just tried some varying degrees of sandpaper and painting and priming these things. So that's what this is. This is not a comprehensive guide, and if you're looking for something super professional, this is probably not it. So if you're just looking to see our results from messing around in our garage for a while, stick around. So let's get a closer look at these things. Okay, so this is what they look like beforehand. This is not, it doesn't have anything done to it yet. In this one, we are just priming without sanding it, so just to see how that kind of affects it. This one we're not even priming, we're just going straight to the spray paint and not priming, or not sanding that one either. And then this is one that I am sanding, almost done with it. We started with a medium and then moved to a fine, and then we've still got an ultra fine to go with it. And we'll experiment with different levels of sanding to see how well it comes out when we prime it and spray paint it. So first we take the medium to it to a point that we feel like we're not doing anything better to it with the medium. Then we go down to fine and then ultra fine until it gets to a point that it's pretty much smooth to the touch. Because right now I can still feel where most of the lines were, but and on this side I've got it down to the fine and it's starting to feel a lot smoother. And then when you use the ultra fine, you can really tell a difference. Okay guys, so we finished up all the painting and now let's check out the results. So this we can use as kind of our baseline. We did not paint or sand this at all. This is fresh off the printer. This is what it looks like without anything done to it. So it's kind of hard to see because it's black, but if you look at the highlights here, you can see that there's some there's some rough spots and just a lot of imperfections in general. There we go, focus, that's a lot better. So you can see the lines quite a bit. Now, let's take a look at a couple different ways that we did this. So, okay, so this one here, we didn't sand and we didn't prime. We just put a coat of textured spray paint on it. So no sanding, no primer, no filing. This was just straight off the printer, and then we sprayed some spray paint on it. And this was a slightly textured, kind of like a granite texture. So it did help to cover up a little bit, but as you can see, you can still see a lot of the imperfections from the print, and just overall doesn't look that great. Now, interestingly enough, this one we didn't sand at all, but we did prime this, and we actually found out that the paint that we're using for this is actually like a cheaper brand of spray paint, because the rest of these we use kind of a premium colors, and I mean they're all the same brand, but these were definitely the premium spray paints, and this was just the cheapy normal spray paint. So if you try to put that cheapy normal spray paint on a 3D print, it will just flake and fall right off. So if you're not using the deluxe types of spray paint, the more premium versions, make sure that you use primer, because once we stuck primer on this, it stuck no problem. And as you can see, it actually did pretty well. You can still see a little bit of the lines and stuff, but for the most part it's pretty spherical and not a lot of imperfections, so that's pretty good for not sanding or filing it at all. Okay, so then with the next ornaments, what we did is we got some sandpaper, and we got medium grit, fine grit, and ultra fine grit. And so I thought we would try the different levels of them and experiment with getting these to different levels of sanded and just seeing how they appear. So this one we did medium grit, and we just sanded it the best we could with that, and then put primer on it and then spray painted it with gold spray paint. And now you can actually see a little bit of the textures from the print. So there's a definite pattern to it, which depending on what you're going for, that can be a positive thing. Because this actually doesn't look that bad. It looks like it was almost intentional going for that pattern. But a lot of the imperfections and stuff have come out. So this is very spherical and actually looks pretty good. So decent success there. Okay, so this one, we kind of did the same process. First we took medium to it, and then we took fine to it. Just to sand it the best we could. And then we primed it and spray painted it with silver. And as you can see, you can still see the pattern a little bit, but for the most part, it's a lot smoother and less noticeable there. And you can still see the lines from the print. And disregard up here, it's pretty hard to sand up here with this hanger here, so we didn't sand that part very well. So pay attention more to the outside of it. That's where we did our best sanding. And we put a couple coats on these as well. So we put 3 coats of primer, I believe 2 or 3 coats of primer, and then 2 or 3 coats of the color on top of it. So here we had medium grit, and then we had medium and fine. And then the next 2 we did are medium, fine, and ultra fine. So this right here is, we did gold, and disregard this side over here. I sanded this side and my wife sanded this side, so you can tell who is better at sanding things. But we both use ultrafine. She just obviously has a lot more attention to detail and a lot more patience than I do. So this is what she got. It looks almost completely smooth, and whatever little artifacts you can kind of see are actually results from the spray paint. So if you get really good at your spray paint technique and have the patience to let it dry correctly and stuff like that, it would actually come out extremely smooth. So again, this one was down to ultra fine. And kind of a fun fact, these 2 are actually the same exact color of spray paint that we sprayed on there, but since this one is much rougher, it actually doesn't shine and they look like 2 different colors. And then this is the silver one that we did, and this one went down to ultra fine as well. And as you can see, it's highly reflective, pretty smooth. So if you were to take this and then paint on top of it with like acrylics and stuff like that, it would actually look very nice hanging on the tree. Okay, so a quick recap of what we learned through this process. 3D prints can actually look very smooth once painted if you take the time to sand them properly and get down to a pretty fine grit of sandpaper. So if you want your 3D prints to look a little more professional, take the time to sand them properly, get them looking smooth before you apply paint. I mean, obviously it'll be a little rough because you're scratching away at plastic with sandpaper, but it should be relatively smooth to the touch. And I am by no means a spray paint expert, so you could probably find some other videos on YouTube detailing how to do that better, but then pretty much normal spray paint techniques apply. So just give it a couple coats of primer, and we used plastic primer for this, and then you can just spray it with whatever spray paint you want and give it a couple coats of that. And if done correctly, they will come out very, very smooth and professional looking. And then from there, you can add more acrylic paints on top of this to do little designs. You can use airbrush, whatever you want to do, and then finish it off with some clear coat to add a little protection to it and a little more gloss. So a lot of you may already know all this stuff, but when I first started 3D printing, I was not very clear on, if there were special painting techniques you needed to follow and things like that with 3D prints, but it appears that you can just sand them, paint them, and be on your way. Alright guys, well there you have it. Some 3D printed and painted ornaments. So quick recap, if you want the best results for what we were messing with, you'll want to sand it down to at least ultra fine. I believe there's some sandpaper that's a lot finer than that, so go as fine as you need and just make it as smooth as you can. Then prime it a few times and then slap your paint on there. And then if you want to proceed after that to some finishing techniques, do that as well. So let me know if you guys like this type of video where we go and experiment with different techniques that you can do with 3D prints, whether it be painting or gluing, anything like that, because I'm certainly open to this type of thing. And if it's something you guys are interested in, I will do it. So leave a comment, let me know. And that's it for me, guys. See you next time. Hey guys, hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, make sure you like, subscribe, and share this video. It helps me out a lot. You can also follow me on Twitter. I'm at ChaosCoreTech. And once you've done all that, check out some of these other videos I've made. Thanks for watching, guys.